time to build a qualifying weekend for the fourth running of the Open Wheels 500-mile race. Welcome along to the qualifying draw, where drivers find out when they'll be running to open up pole day this coming Saturday. The grind to be part of the Fast 33 all begins here, and we're glad you can join us here live on RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, president of the Open Wheels 500-mile race. So delighted to have your company here today. Of course, this event, started back in 2019 by Tanner Watkins, is all about bringing the experience of the month of May to drivers on iRacing here in the month of November. And so that starts, as mentioned, with qualifying. 2 full days and 33 drivers to make their way into the field of 33. After that, we have a week off before we go racing, as some of our drivers will, without a shadow of a doubt, focus their attention on the very first IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing Pro Series as it comes to a conclusion on a Thursday night. After that, though, it's time for us to take center stage and to focus up once again for what lies ahead. The fourth running of the Open Wheels 500 on Saturday, November 23rd. All this action live on RaceSpotTV to come. But there is a long journey ahead of these drivers. Final practice for them will see them roll out on November 20th at the Speedway. But of course, it will be 10 a.m. Eastern this coming Saturday, November 9th, for the beginning of the qualifying sessions. It will run all the way through to 5:50 p.m. Eastern. Same thing to happen then on Sunday. Drivers get their final opportunity on bump day to make their way in. How much activity will we see? I think there are plenty of drivers hoping to see less activity than more. Well, so let's get into the qualifying draw. What does this mean? Well, every driver gets 3 runs over the course of the qualifying weekend. One of those draws is guaranteed at the start of pole day. Drivers are split up into 2 groups. Group 1 is expected to run between 10 a.m. Eastern to around 1 p.m. I should say Eastern, with the second group picking up shortly after that and running all the way through to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Group 1 is going to be drawn first. Of course, drivers were given the opportunity as to which group they wanted to be in to set their schedule for Saturday. Drivers could also pick no group, in which case they would be able to run after all drivers that have been part of this qualifying draw have already gone out onto track. And it will all, of course, then lead to the very final end of the session when the gun will go off at 5:50, and we'll find out who will start on pole position for the Open Wheels 500-mile race. I've got a helmet. We've got, you can kind of see the cards inside. So we're going to shake it up, and we're going to get going with the draw here today. Now, we have a field of about 70 for this year's Open Wheels 500-mile race. About 25 or so drivers in each of the groups. So we're going to have about 50 drivers guaranteed runs to start off the day. After that, things will, of course, open up as mentioned. So, shuffle it up a little bit more. And the first qualifier in the Open Wheels 500-mile race, the 007 of Henry Bennett, representing, of course, Power Slide Motorsports. And so Henry's a veteran of the IndyCar, qualified 11th back in 2022. Going to be very exciting to see how he can get on as the first of our qualifiers. No pressure for him then. Let's shuffle this up again. And with the second run in the Open Wheels 500-mile qualifying sessions, it is the number 11, Julian Altena. Of course, representing Velocity Online Racing, a rookie to this year's race, but we have seen him across the last 18 months or so, and even last year where we saw less of the IndyCar racing on RaceSpotTV, continue to be a part of the IndyCar community. Once again, shake up the helmet. Doing some randomizing in my hands as well, and, got 2 for a sec. Number 80, Wilson Nadeau, will be the 3rd driver to go out in group number 1. Now, Wilson has been fast in qualifying before for the iRacing Indy 500. It'll be interesting to see if he's a contender for pole. Didn't participate in 2022, but has signed up for previous Open Wheels 500-mile races, so he's not a rookie by any means. Shake it up once again. And there we go. We got 1. There's plenty of cards in here. 1-1-3. Ollie McGowan is going to be the 4th of our qualifiers in group number 1. to open up pole day. Now, Ollie is our first rookie our second rookie, I should say, after Julian Altena, representing Mirai United VRT. So for the opening 4 drivers already have got 2 of our rookies. And we do have a pretty healthy mix of rookies and veterans through the course of the field. Some drivers denoted as rookies are veterans to the Indy 500 across of iRacing, though. So let's see what some of them can do. The next driver, the number 48 of Jason Wallet. Of course, we've seen Jason representing Drexel Esports on a whole number of occasions. He'll be the 5th driver to go out in pole session qualifying to open up Saturday morning. Keep going. Shake it up once again. The 13, Hamilton Akabuizi, is going to be the next of our drivers. Now, of course, Hamilton did participate in 2022 and qualified in 23rd, but he did so as a privateer driver. Now he's representing Team i5G. Be very interesting to see what he can do. Has been very, very good at the Speedway across of 2024 so far. So that's 6 drivers pulled out of the hat, or the helmet, as it were. Next driver will be the 43 of Carol Stout. Another one of our rookies in the field, representing Velocity Online Racing. Going to be very interesting, I think, around that battle for 20th through 33rd. I think there's going to be a lot of expectation, and maybe Velocity Online Racing hoping they could surprise some people and go even further up in the order. Shake the helmet once more. 7 names of about 25 pulled out so far for group number 1. And the next driver, the 29, Satellite Racing's Adam Crane. Of course, the Canadian qualified for the IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing Pro Series, qualified 20th in the 2022 Open Wheels 500-mile race. We'll see what he can do, the first of the Satellite Racing drivers. Shake it up once again. Doing a lot of shuffling with my hands as well, because I don't know how much the shaking's actually doing. But the next driver, our defending champion, Hugo Olsen, in the number 1 machine, is going to qualify 9th on pole day. Now, he qualified 6th back in 2022. Let's not forget, he also won this race back in 2020. So I think there's going to be a lot of expectations. The 3rd of the Powerslide Motorsports drivers, of course, to go out as well. Henry Bennett goes out 1st. Wilson Nato goes out 3rd. So let's see what Hugo Olsen's going to be able to do. Once more, shuffle things around. And so the next driver, the number 89, Niall McBride, rejoining us, of course, for the Open Wheels 500-mile race in the Gimpus 1 entry. Missed, of course, 2022, right after he and his partner, I should say, had their first child. So we're so glad to have Niall back in the field and can't wait to see what the power of being a father does for him. Keep going. That's 10 drivers now, of course, drawn for Group 1 of the Open Wheels 500-mile race. And the next driver, the number 14, Andrew Kinsella, will go out 11th. Now, Andrew used to be the setup builder for the Lionheart Racing Series, did setups for their Indy 500, also, of course, for their Lotus 79, qualified 12th back in 2022. Be interesting to see how he can get on once again. Once finished very, very close to winning an iRacing Indy 500 as well. Not sure he'll appreciate me bringing that up right now. Let's keep going. Next up, if I can get the thing out, the 12, Liam O'Sullivan. So another one of our rookies to qualify relatively early on in proceedings, and the 3rd of our Velocity Online Racing drivers as well. So they're going to be fully focused at the start of this session, really trying to make sure that the rest of the drivers have a benchmark with which to target themselves to. So the number 12, going to roll out 12th in qualifying. There's some symmetry there. Once again, we go into the helmet, and we find the 07 of Chris Wilhite. Great to have Chris back in the event. Now, he did sign up in 2022, didn't actually attempt to run in qualifying, but technically not a rookie. And he's got a lot of experience, so I think we're looking forward to seeing him back in an IndyCar. Been quite a while since we've seen him on RaceSpotTV as well. And is, I think, the first of the Indy Alliance racing drivers as well. So they'll be hoping to really show themselves strong in qualifying. 13th for the first of their drivers in the 07. One more card coming out of the helmet. The 74 of Adam Blocker will roll out at 14th. So that's another one of the Powerslide Motorsports drivers. Now, he qualified 8th back in 2022. And of course, a lot's changed for Adam in the last couple of years. He's won an iRacing, he's won a real Indy 500. Of course, he's helped Powerslide Motorsports win their first iRacing Indy 500 this year as well. All as he maintains his career in the NTT IndyCar Series. So that's a 74 going out 14th. We're getting to the tail end of group number 1. And the next driver, number 98 of Dylan Freckleton. Great to see the Flames back out on show for qualifying. Dylan's one of the few independent drivers that consistently is capable of making these fast 33s without much help from anyone else. Qualified 32nd, just inside of the cut line in 2022. Very excited to see what he can do once again, rolling out 15th. Right. I think we've got maybe 7 more names in this first group. And the next one coming out of the helmet, the 21 of Rashad Craig. It's a driver that qualified 10th in the 2022 Open Wheels 500-mile race, I should say. And we've seen him as well qualify quite well across some iRacing Indy 500s too. So going to be interesting how he gets along in that Indy Alliance racing car. 17th. In the qualifying queue, it's Adam Hartzell, who I will say, one of the few drivers in the iRacing IndyCar community, in the number 81, I should say as well. So the person behind the scenes, Dane Barrett, can very quickly enter the information into the graphic for me. One of the few people that is enjoying as much golf as I am at this time. Hopefully puts the sticks aside and picks up the setup book for at least a week or so. Next up, in 18th, in this first group, the 79 of Brian Carey will roll out. Now, he qualified 19th back in 2022. What's he going to be able to do this time around? Relatively late in this first session as well, so might see some slight evolution in the track. Who knows? Should stay relatively static for the most part. Right, next up, the number 88 of Nathan Moore, one of a handful of World Sim Racing Esports butt kicker drivers joining us for the very first time. Let's see what he can do. 19th in group number 1, so he might be at the very tail end of the morning. I think we've got 3 more names left in this helmet. So 22 drivers to go out for group number 1. And the 20th of them is the 54 of AJ Musselman. Of course, a privateer driver now. Going to be interesting to see how he can get out and roll from the tail end of this group. We know how strong he can be. Now, can he get it hooked up together for those 4 crucial laps? So 2 names left to draw, and the next one will set the fate of the last one, let's not forget. So, as the 36 of Andrew Marquez gets drawn into 21st, the driver that qualified 25th in the 2022 edition of the race, representing Madworks Motorsports as well. It means by default, we can look straight into the helmet and pull out the 002 of Connor Nixon, who will roll out as the final driver, 22nd in group number 1. And so, of course, in that Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports car, we've got 2 of them entered. We've got Cam Dance as well, who we saw in the VCO IndyCar Challenge earlier this summer, make a good account of himself. Interested to see how they get along at the Speedway. Right, that's group number 1 drawn, and so we're going to step aside for a couple of moments here on RaceSpotTV. When we come back, it will be draw time for group number 2. Another 25 or so drivers to be pulled out of the helmet and to be put into the qualifying queue, as we build towards the 2024 Open Wheels 500-mile qualifying sessions kicking off this Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV and coverage of the 2024 Open Wheels 500-mile race, kicking off with the qualifying draw. Already, we pulled 20-odd names out of the hat and slotted them into the queue to kick off qualifying day on Saturday. And now Group 2 gets to find out its fate as we do the same thing. Another 20-odd names thrown into the hat. Welcome along. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, President of the Open Wheels 500-mile race, and delighted that you join us to kick off what is a very busy time in the sim racing world. Not just building up to focusing on the speedway and, of course, the fourth running of the Open Wheels 500-mile race, but all in the midst of the conclusion of the IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing Pro Series, the very first official esports tournament sanctioned by IndyCar itself. It's great to see, and several of our drivers entered for the Open Wheels 500-mile race are also entered into that championship as well. We're ready to go. We've thrown, can you see, some more names into the helmet. And so, let's start shaking it up. And let's start picking our way through this once again. Doing a bit more shuffling of the cards in my hand before we get to the first pick, which is number 5 of Baron Glover. One of our rookies entered into the field in the wrong stuff entry. Hopefully he's got the right stuff dialed up for the car on Saturday when he rolls out for the first of the runs in Group 2 for qualifying. Remember, it's going to be right around 1 p.m. Eastern live here on RaceSpotTV November the 9th. Doing some more shaking up. Ooh, don't want to hit my helmet against the table too much. Next driver to get pulled out of the hat, if I can do just one, is the 23 of Daniel Ferguson, the team manager at World Sim Racing Esports with Butt Kicker. We of course saw, I think it was Lucas Prada drawn at the tail end of group number 1. Let's see what the second driver representing WSR in the white and black will be able to do. So next up in group number 2, get one. Difficult when there's so many cars in this helmet, you know? I can't read backwards. The 28, Matthias Strauss, is the next up in the qualifying queue. Now, Team Watson Racing driver that has participated in this race before but did not qualify in 2022. So it'll be exciting to see how he gets on in his return to the race, and he'll go out 3rd in group number 2. Once again, shake things up. Sure we're not losing any cards along the way. One trying to slip out of the helmet right now. Sneaky, sneaky. There we go. The 18 of Adam State will be next up in the qualifying queue. Rookie to the race, relatively experienced in the IndyCar by some measures, and representing, of course, World Sim Racing Esports with Butt Kicker, 3rd of the drivers in the white and black entry. Next up is going to be, get just one name out of the hat, the 47 of Chris Stouffer, who will be in the Intense Motorsport entry. Now, typically we see him in the number 13, but that number's been stolen by Hamilton Akabuizi. Great to see Chris back in the field. Let's see what he can do, running 5th in group number 2. All right, let's go once again. I think I've got 3. And now we've got one. 59 of Evan Adams will go out 6th in the queue. Now he qualified 34th back in 2022 in the All-American iRacers entry, right on the cut line. He was the first alternate for the race, something that will have to be talked about through the qualifying days itself as well. That's not a position you'd like to be. Evan Adams hoping to go one better in 2024. 7th in group number 2. Jacob Oster, who I saw in the YouTube chat talking a little bit in his number 16 machine. He's doing some practice for tomorrow's race at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in that T95G entry, and qualified 7th back in 2022. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Jacob Oster says hi in the YouTube chat as well. Next up, man, I'm getting like 4 cars at a time sometimes. They all want to come out of the hat. The 97 of Gonzalo Romero is going to be next up in the qualifying queue for the Necki Racing team. Of course, we've seen in the Open Wheels 500-mile race before. Haven't seen Gonzalo before, though, as far as our records show. So let's see what he can do, getting ready to go. Right. One more name to come out. If I can. Oh man, these cars are tricky in group number 2. 49, Seb Alexander is going to head out in the 9th position in group number 2. Qualified 14th back in 2022. We had a handful of the Indy Lights Racing drivers in group number 1. This is the first in group number 2. So, next name to come out of the helmet. Eventually they'll come out. 63 of Alexis Newsom, who of course came so close to winning the 2022 iRacing Indy 500, qualified 9th for our 2022 Open Wheels 500 mile race, and great to see her back in the sim as well. Being, of course, missing for all of 2023. Haven't seen her much in 2024 either. Didn't see much IndyCar racing in 2023, to be fair, on RaceSpot. It was a shame. 11th in group number 2 is the 7 of Lucas Lodato. We saw him in that Nexus Esports with Bearcat Motorsports car, competing a couple of rounds of VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels. See what he can do as a rookie to the race. I think probably has some confidence going into qualifying weekend. 12th in the second group will be the 6 of Cameron Dance. Another driver that we saw competing in the VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels in that Orbit Drop Bear Motorsports entry. And that was actually their kind of debut as a team after rebranding. So now we've got 2 of the Orbit Drop Bear cars in the Open Wheels 500 mile race field. What can Cam Dance do as a rookie? Still trying to find just one card. Is that 1? Is that 2? That's 4. Okay. Upside down. 69 of Mark Murphy is going to be up next. I guess the 69 is the 69 if it's upside down or not, so I should have read it properly. Indy Alliance Racing driver, though, I think he'll be one to watch as well heading into qualifying weekend. Let's see what Murphy can do. He'll go 13th in group number 2. And next up, his teammate Jesper Orman in the 4 will go out in the Indy Alliance Racing car. Now, he qualified 5th in 2022 with a very good, steady qualifying run. Can he maybe go a couple of spots better and start on the front row when we go 3 wide to kick off our 500 miles of racing? Next up, the 02 of Matt Hollabaugh will be driving in the All-American iRacers entry. 26th in qualifying for the 2022 Open Wheels 500 mile race. One that's been waiting for the return of this event. I can promise you that. Starting to whittle down the number of drivers left in group number 2. Next up is the 66 of Brandon Trost. He will be competing as a privateer. First time in the event for a veteran of the IndyCar community as well. See what he's able to do as a privateer entry. That's 16 drivers pulled out of the helmet. Next up is the 08 of DL Lemon. A rookie in the field and competing in the Sim Racing Associates Bitcoin Sim Racing Team entry. Good mixture of rookies and veterans to the Open Wheels 500 mile race in the second group. 18th driver to go out in group number 2 will be the 22 of Pablo Diaz Francis. Not a rookie to the race, but returning after not competing in 2022. And another one of the Necky Racing Team drivers. Next up in the queue, I think we've got maybe 5 more left to go, is the 33 of Craig Forsyth. He'll go out towards the tail end of the group in the 40 Raceway SRT car. Now, he qualified 35th, so 2 positions away from making the field. He was our second alternate for the 2022 Open Wheels 500 mile race. Next up, the 51 of Sam Karasala. A rookie to the race, hailing from Alaska, representing the Indy Alliance Racing team. I think that's their 4th entry in this second group alone. And so now 2 more left in the helmet. Who's going to be drawn as the 21st? It's Christian Steele in the number 2, who will be back after missing the field for the 2022 Open Wheels 500 mile race. Now, let's be real, he had won the 2022 iRacing Indy 500, so it was okay that he missed the cut line. He'll be hoping to make amends for that this year, though. And that means, last but not least, in the number 10 is Lucas Prada in the World Sim Racing Esports entry. 3rd one of their drivers in the field, so Nathan Moore, Daniel Ferguson, and then Lucas Prada, just making sure there's nothing left in the helmet. And we're all good. We're all good. Right. That's the qualifying draw done and dusted. Thanks so much for joining us here on RaceSpotTV. We've got so much to look forward to. Kicks off at 10 a.m. on November the 9th, does our qualifying coverage here on RaceSpotTV. It goes all the way through to 5:50 p.m. Eastern, sounding of the gun and the end of the qualifying run. And we do it all again on Sunday for Bump Day to set the field of 33, the Open Wheels 500-mile race. Not long from going racing once again on Saturday, November the 23rd. But for now, it's time to bid you farewell. Thanks for your company. It's going to be a long day, Saturday and Sunday. We hope you'll join us as well for the qualifying coverage that beckons. On behalf of the team behind the scenes making all of this happen at Open Wheels and at RaceSpot, for Dean Baird alongside Arjuna Kankipati, thanks so much for joining us as we build up to the fourth running of the Open Wheels 500-mile race.